Good evening. I'm Adam Gopnik, and I want to welcome you to tonight's screening of Julien Duvivier's 1946 film noir classic, Panique. It's one of the series of films in a festival we're calling Out of the Dark that Melissa Errico and I have curated together for FIAF. You'll have to excuse me, I'm down with a bit of a bad cold. All the viruses that we kept away for the pandemic year are now coming to assault us once again as we try to return to normalcy. Very much a moral of Panique that the germs we try to avoid come and get us in peacetime as much as we avoided them in wartime. I'm trying to keep myself going with a little bit of French champagne. Um, this is truly one of the masterpieces of film noir in France. Truly one of the most bitter and difficult of all French films. Uh, it's based on a novel by the great Georges Simenon, the creator of Inspector Maigret, and part of the power, and in a certain sense, the charm of the film, is that it captures better than any other film I know Simenon's very particular sense of the morals and manners of the French petite bourgeoisie. The first 15 minutes of the film are extraordinary just in that way. They're kind of the opposite, the kind of negation of this sense of a French provincial, a French lower middle class life that one sees in something like Pegnol's The Baker's Wife, where there's all that charm of sexual intrigue and uh, small merchants. This is about grasping, greedy, rule bound, unhappy people who live lives that are governed by essentially by hypocrisy. Um, it's a film that whose first half is all about intrigue and a very Simenon-like story based on one of his novels of miscrossed lovers, small-time criminals who victimize uh, an innocent man. The innocent man is Jewish and played by Michel Simon in one of the greatest character parts that's ever been invented. He is a fundamentally benevolent, good man who takes an interest in Alice, played by Vivienne Romance, in a role of the kind that Gloria Graham might play in American cinema at the same time. And Simone, who had been a great character actor in films like Jean Vigo's L'Atlante, here plays a kind of, if you like, a kind of Camusian innocent, a man who has been wounded by life but is trying to stick to a moral code and has enraptured himself, infatuated himself with a kind of femme fatale, with a woman, played by Romance, who's just escaped, or rather just been released from prison, and who is desperately in love with a murderous small time crook to the degree that she's willing to betray uh, uh, the Simone character and every imaginable value on his behalf. The first half of the film, as I say, the first two-thirds of the film are taken up with this story set in a suburb of Juif just outside Paris. The last 20 minutes are hallucinatory because they're all about the mob victimization of the Michel Simon character. Uh, and everyone who's ever seen this film comes away with the indelible impression of the mob pursuit of this innocent man who eventually falls, are convinced that it's some kind of allegory of the French occupation and the French collaboration. It's pitched, though, in a tone of hysteria that recalls as well the post collaboration moment in which the supposed guilty, the collaborators, were shaved and abused by a mob, and I think that may have been as much on Duvivier's mind as the mechanics, the guilt of the occupation. I mentioned Camus, and it's very much within hailing distance of Camus' imagination. The readiness of a mob to pick a victim. There's an extraordinary sequence. The film is knitted together by a carnival that's come to this Parisian suburb, and there's an extraordinary scene where bumper cars come together, and in a moment that combines hysterical glee with violent murderous intent, all of the people in the bumper cars turn on the one innocent man, the bearded Michel Simon character. It's a film whose allegory, whose fable remains deeply enigmatic, overdetermined, as critics like to say, deeply ambivalent. Who's the villain and whose evil is, and the nature of evil is profoundly ill-defined. And the very last sequence, which shows the guilty parties, as we've come to see them, stuck kind of permanently, like figures out of Dante, on a roller coaster, is equally unforgettable. Julien Duvivier, Panique, 1946. I can't say enjoy it, but admire it.